Have you ever nicked yourself in the kitchen and found that 2-3 weeks later, it still has not closed? Or noticed a small scrape on your ankle that just sits there, never quite forming a proper scab? Most people shrug and blame age or dry skin. But by the end of this video, you will understand why that reaction could be one of the most dangerous mistakes you make. A wound that refuses to heal is not a skin problem. It is your body's most direct signal that something is going wrong deep inside blood vessels. So small they measure less than 1/100th of a millimeter. Those are your capillaries, and when they start failing, everything that depends on them starts failing too. Today we are going to break down the hidden warning signs of microvascular occlusion, capillary blockage, explain why this can be even more dangerous than diabetes itself, and give you a practical 7-day self-check plan you can start today. First, understand why wounds heal at all. Every time skin is broken, 4 stages follow in sequence. Bleeding is stopped by platelets. Then white blood cells flood in to clean the site. Then new capillaries grow into the wound to deliver oxygen and building materials, and finally, the new tissue matures into a scar. The entire process depends on step 3, new capillary growth. Without it, oxygen cannot reach the wound, collagen cannot form, and healing stalls. Damaged or blocked capillaries do not just slow healing, they shut the engine off entirely. So why do capillaries fail? Medical research has identified a phenomenon called ghost vessels. As capillaries narrow and blood flow disappears, they become hollow shells, vessels in name only, delivering nothing. Ghost vessel formation accelerates naturally after age 40, with capillary density declining roughly 10 to 15% every decade. By the time a person reaches their 70s, more than 1/3 of their capillaries may already be functional ghosts. In areas where this has occurred, wound healing capacity can fall to less than half that of a younger person. The critical question is this: how do you know whether a slow healing wound is normal, aging, or an early warning of serious microvascular disease? The most reliable clue is location. Wounds on the torso or upper arms, close to the heart, tend to heal adequately, even with some microvascular damage because blood supply is abundant. But wounds on the feet, ankles, toes, and lower legs, the farthest points from the heart, are the first to reveal failing circulation. If injuries in those locations consistently take far longer to close than wounds elsewhere on your body, this is a specific warning from your peripheral microcirculation. 5 warning signs demand your attention. The first is any wound that remains open beyond 4 weeks. Medically, a wound that does not progress toward closure within 4 to 6 weeks is classified as a chronic wound. The leading cause of chronic wounds is insufficient blood supply. If the wound bed looks dark, gray, or lifeless rather than healthy pink, new capillary formation has been blocked. The second warning sign is skin changes around the wound. Skin that feels noticeably cold to the touch, appears pale, or turns a blue-purple color near the wound, tells you that blood is not arriving in adequate amounts. In the opposite direction, excessive redness, warmth, and odor around a wound signals infection, a situation requiring immediate medical attention. The third warning sign is persistent coldness or numbness in the feet and toes, especially when it appears alongside slow wound healing. Specialists emphasize that when a person experiences coldness or tingling in the feet at rest, together with wounds that will not close, peripheral artery disease must be evaluated without delay. The fourth warning sign is leg pain. That appears only during walking and disappears with rest. This pattern, pain or cramping in the calf, thigh, or buttock that comes on with exertion and clears when you stop, is called intermittent claudication. It means narrowed arteries cannot supply enough blood flow during activity. When a wound develops in a person with intermittent claudication, healing is severely compromised because the blood flow needed for tissue repair is already rationed. The fifth warning sign is ulcers that appear without any injury at all. If the skin on your ankle or sole breaks down spontaneously, with no trauma to explain it, this is most likely a vascular ulcer. Tissue that has begun to die because oxygen supply has been cut off. Left untreated, vascular ulcers progress to gangrene. Research confirms that when microvascular occlusion and peripheral arterial disease are both present, the risk of lower limb amputation rises dramatically compared to arterial disease alone. Now let us be clear, diabetes is not the only cause. Smoking destroys capillary endothelium and reduces oxygen carrying capacity. Research shows that smokers heal wounds up to 50% more slowly than non-smokers. Chronic inflammatory conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis and lupus continuously damage small vessel walls. Anemia reduces the oxygen the blood can carry, regardless of how open the vessels are. And long-term steroid use suppresses the inflammatory phase that wound healing depends on. You do not need a diabetes diagnosis for your capillaries to be in serious trouble. When diabetes is present, the mechanism is particularly destructive. High blood glucose attaches directly to the cells lining blood vessel walls, stiffening them, thickening the vessel wall, and progressively narrowing the internal channel, exactly like rust accumulating inside a pipe. Years of this process produce ghost vessels throughout the extremities, combined with diabetic nerve damage that blunts pain sensation. Wounds can develop and enlarge for days before the person even knows they are there. Between 15 and 25% of people with diabetes will develop a foot ulcer in their lifetime. The risk of lower limb amputation in a diabetic patient with a foot ulcer is 15 to 40 times higher than in the general population. Here is your 7-day practical plan. On days 1 and 2, examine every wound on your lower legs, ankles, and feet. Note which ones have been there for more than 2 weeks. Compare the skin color and temperature of the wound area to the same location on the other leg. Any asymmetry in color or temperature is a warning sign worth taking seriously. On days 3 and 4, check your peripheral pulse. Place 2 fingers gently on the top of your foot along the midline, or just behind the inner ankle bone. You should feel a faint but regular pulse. If one side is dramatically weaker than the other, or absent, blood flow to that region may be significantly reduced and warrants prompt vascular assessment. On days 5 and 6, run a focused nutrition intervention. Every meal should include protein: fish, eggs, tofu, or chicken, because protein is the raw material for both new cells and collagen. Add zinc-rich foods: oysters, lean beef, pumpkin seeds, and nuts. Increase vitamin C through red peppers, broccoli, strawberries, and kiwi. Vitamin C is the essential cofactor for collagen, structural integrity, and research shows that zinc deficiency alone can reduce wound healing speed by up to 40%. A daily intake of at least 500 milligrams of vitamin C meaningfully supports the healing process. On day 7, make your decision based on what you have observed. A wound on the foot or ankle that remains open beyond 4 weeks needs vascular surgery or endocrinology assessment immediately. Leg pain that comes with walking and goes with rest needs a vascular workup. Persistent coldness and numbness at rest needs a peripheral artery disease evaluation. If you already have diabetes, blood sugar management, combined with vascular and foot checks every 3 months, is non-negotiable. 2 lifestyle changes outweigh almost everything else. Quitting smoking is the single most powerful intervention available. Within 3 months of stopping, vascular function shows measurable recovery. Second, 30 minutes of brisk walking 5 times a week has been shown to meaningfully increase peripheral blood flow and capillary density, and it costs nothing. The essential message today is this: a wound that heals slowly is not a trivial inconvenience. It is your smallest, most numerous blood vessels telling you they are losing the battle, whether you have diabetes or not. The pattern of wounds on your extremities that take weeks to close, skin that feels cold and changes color, and legs that cramp on walking are all signals from the same source. Act on them early and the story can change. Ignore them and the consequences become very difficult to reverse. If this video helped you, please subscribe and share it with anyone who has mentioned that their wounds never seem to heal properly. Your share might be what gets them to a doctor in time. Leave a comment with your questions and I will see you in the next video.